Ooh. We're live. Okay.
Hello, welcome to FALA-sophy. I'm James.
I'm Wes. I'm the guest on this episode.
You might be wondering, what is FALA-sophy? Well, it's a podcast where we discuss and analyze different parts of pop culture. Could be a movie, a TV show. In this case, it's a newspaper comic. Before I start, I'd just like to say thank you to Simon for helping out with all the technology, and thank you for everybody else for helping with the pictures. So yeah, I'd like to talk about the Peanuts newspaper comic strip by Charles M. Schulz.
Peanuts.
Yes. So I think everybody has some memory, some experience with Peanuts. I remember when I was in grade school, every time when it would get close to Halloween, we would watch the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown special, and
Yeah, I can relate to that because my first introduction to the Peanuts was through the Peanuts A Charlie Brown Christmas. That exact DVD. I brought that in from probably the age of 1 to now. Every winter, I probably watched that movie on average 3 times a winter, I'd say. And it was my introduction into the whole Peanuts franchise and to all these great characters.
yeah, it's very near and dear to my heart. But I don't think a lot of people really appreciate how just deep and philosophical and even how just downright depressing it is. So I'd like to talk about that. So, yeah, I just want to set the mood. This is the very first Peanut strip. I forget what year this was, but I'm just going to read this. Here you have Charlie Brown. He's just a normal kid. He's just walking down the street. And then, some kids are talking about him. They say, "Well, here comes old Charlie Brown. Good old Charlie Brown. Yes, sir. Good old Charlie Brown. How I hate him." And that's the point of Charlie Brown. The universe hates him for no reason. He's so unlucky. Just,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to further show the point. Here's a later strip. Here you have, actually, Wes, you want to read this?
I'll take a look.
Alright.
So, it opens with Charlie and Linus on the iconic brick wall that you can probably all see on the live right now.
Very common.
And Linus says, "Oh, sometimes I feel that life has passed me by." And with a sigh, he turns and asks Charlie Brown, "Do you ever feel that way, Charlie Brown?" And Charles Brown responds, "No, I feel it has knocked me down and walked all over me." Once again, this does just further emphasize what has been shown in the first strip, and that is life is just unkind to Charlie Brown, and life is suffering.
Yeah, I think Linus is more of an optimist,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Charlie Brown, I think, I'm just going to read this next strip. It says, "Why does he's lying in bed. Why does a person have to lie awake all night worrying about everything? Why should a person be burdened with all the cares of the world?" And then Snoopy says, "Try sleeping."
And yeah, I feel this one is very prevalent in this modern society, especially with the use of technological devices such as your phone. We have the ability to distract ourselves on cue and on command. And it prevents us from really thinking about our thoughts, feelings, and truly how we feel in the moment until the times where we have no distractions, such as when we're trying to go to sleep, or when we're showering, or maybe sometimes you're taking a long bus ride, say. And I feel that people need to let themselves feel their feelings more and just rid themselves of distractions and see, actually, how am I doing? And I feel this is represented very well in this Peanut strip.
Yeah, it's hard because, whenever I'm at school, whenever I'm listening to music or doing something, I feel fine, but the minute I'm in the shower or on the bus, I just feel so unhappy and so depressed. But I think this strip is more just about, he says, why should a person be burdened with all the cares of the world? I think the point of this is that, Charlie Brown didn't choose to exist. He was forced to exist. He was forced into this world. And it's not his choice to be so unlucky. And when you really think about things, just think about how gravity's constantly pushing down on you. And, every day you have to wake up and you have to do all these things. You have to eat, and you have all these physical problems that you can't get past, like acne. I didn't choose to have acne, and it's just about why it sucks to be alive in the physical, material world.
Yeah.
So just to explain the point of the Peanuts comic strip, is that life is suffering. Just moving on. Wes, why don't you read this?
Yeah, I'll take a look. So, Charlie Brown has a love interest in the Peanuts franchise.
And he's down bad.
He is truly fiending for this woman. And she doesn't appear all that often, but this is one of the times where she is referenced in the Peanuts lore. Charlie Brown's walking in the snow, as most of us do, and imagining how his life could be, Wouldn't it be something if I could be walking along the snow with that little red-haired girl? Maybe she'd be wearing a furry mittens, and maybe we'd climb on top of this big hill and slide down on a toboggan. And when we were sliding down, maybe I'd put my arms around her and wow. And then reality hits him in the head with a brick. And he's like, no way, realizing that those dreams will never come to fruition, and he's cursed to live a life of loneliness because he has zero riz.
But he's just gone through so much in life that he can't trust reality. He can't get past his problems. And here in this next strip, he is with the little red-haired girl. This is one of the few strips where we see her. And if you don't know, Charlie Brown, there's a whole gag where there's the football, and he's, kicking the football. Or no, Lucy, who, she's, I'm not allowed to curse, but she's very mean to Charlie Brown. She's always bullying him, and she always tricks him into trying to, almost kicking this football, and then she moves it away at the right time, and he trips and falls. And now this is happening again with his crush, the person that he loves. She's saying, "Brownie Charles, I'm waiting, I'm holding the ball. And I'm wondering if I should trust her. I hate myself. I need somebody who will make up my mind for me." And then Snoopy kicks him.
So, in this strip, Snoopy is the ideal wingman. One that we all need in our life, that urges us to take that chance, And it also does deal with just trust issues, because this is coming from the perspective of a man who has been wronged his entire life. And even when this is probably one of the greatest days of his life. He's with his woman.
Finally getting to be with her.
And he's finally getting to maybe even kick that ball. Yet, he's letting it ruin him because of all the stuff that's happened in his past. He's worried it'll happen again. And it is... sure is something.
Yeah, when I first read this, when I saw Charlie Brown say, "I hate myself," that was just so depressing, and I felt that. But, love is a really complicated thing. Really, love is just a bunch of chemicals that go to your brain that make humans want to reproduce. But it's also just so much more complicated, and it hurts, And I know what it's like to feel betrayed and to not be able to trust the person that you really love, and to always be questioning whether, what they think of you. So I just find Charlie Brown so relatable. Moving on, I'd like to take a break from Charlie Brown and talk about one of the other Peanuts characters. This is Peppermint Patty.
Mint meat, as some say.
Why don't you read this?
All right. "Hey, Franklin, she stuck a gold star on your paper. The teacher never sticks a star on any of my papers. I couldn't get a star on a Christmas tree. Sorry, ma'am. She caused a disruption. She let her emotions be shown, which is just bad taste,
Yeah, but I think it's more just about how, when you receive a reward from your teacher, it could be a star on your paper, or it could be just grades in general. It's all just a construct. It doesn't mean anything. you know. I think Pepper and Patty is so sad to me because she has such an inferiority complex, and in reality she's really funny, but I don't know, she feels betrayed. She's a lot like Charlie Brown in that way. And I just really dislike the school system, to be honest with you. The fact that, you know, I don't know what it's like to not go to school. I've been going to school for my entire life, and I didn't have a choice in it. And just every day is the same thing. It's so monotonous. And, you know, I really understand Pepper and Patty here.
Mm-hmm. I feel like she might also be sad because she's named after a candy. Names play a big role in sadness in life, you know? You could get cursed with a really bad name, but anyways.
They do, actually. There have been studies that your names affect your personality.
Mm-hmm.
But,
that's why guys named Matthew are fantastic, you know? Say I'm wrong.
Moving on. I'd like to take a look at everybody's favorite Peanuts character. Well, not everybody's favorite Peanuts character, but, you know, certainly nobody dislikes Linus. Everybody likes Linus. Yeah, he's the philosopher. He's the smart one. And in reality, all of the Peanuts characters are smarter than... he gives these adult traits to kids. And I think that's what Calvin and Hobbes takes from Peanuts, and what the large majority of newspaper comic strips take from Peanuts. And even Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson said that, the film director, said that he took a lot of inspiration from Peanuts when he writes a lot of his movies, because the children are always more mature and intelligent than they would be. So here's Linus. And Linus is very academic. He's school-oriented. He's kind of the opposite of me in that way. And, he's very smart. He says, "I don't think my teacher, Miss Othmar, likes me anymore. She doesn't look at me the way that she used to. She doesn't even look at me at all. It's a terrible thing to discover that your teacher doesn't like you anymore. It's like having a subscription run out." And, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I feel like Linus has been indoctrinated into the system, or some could call it the Matrix, but we'll just stick to system for the remainder of this stream. Because he is such an academic student. He pursues that. He pursues validation from his teachers, and he's let it completely consume his life. You know? Like, imagine waking up every day wanting to please someone other than yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's validation. He lets others control him.
And you try your hardest thinking, maybe it'll make me feel happy. But in the end it won't. Because for happiness you have to look inward and validate yourself. And self-validation, instead of the external validation that comes from maybe getting a good grade on a test.
And I would say, instead of trying to improve other people, you should try to improve yourself. Because if you improve yourself, then other people will see those improvements. And they will want to be with you. So if you want to make friends, or want to impress someone, don't think about impressing them. Don't think about other people's opinions. Think about your own opinions. And always seek to improve yourself. And just be the best version of yourself that you can be. You know? And it's hard. You know, that's what I focus on. I try to be grim in that, I get home and I do this, and I go to the gym, and I do all of this, but it's hard to work hard, even though it's the right thing to do. But yeah, this is the next strip with Linus. He says, "I'm going to stand here in the rain until I catch pneumonia and die. If Miss Othmar doesn't like me anymore, I have nothing to live for. I wonder if you can catch pneumonia without getting so wet." This is just sad, because, it's so depressing, because Linus wants to die. He's trying to kill himself, basically. And I think it's so sad. And it's not as happy as people think it is, this whole newspaper comic strip.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Snoopy, why don't you read this? I think Wes, out of all of the Peanuts characters, I think Wes is most like Snoopy, which is a compliment. So.
Some could say I have the Snoopy dog in me. Anyways, in this strip, Snoopy is with his Woodstock, his little bird friend, right there, and Snoopy, they're right there. Oh, that's cool. And he's thinking to himself, Woodstock had never seen a violin, or a fire truck, or candy store. He's never heard an opera, or a symphony. He's never seen a movie or a play. On the other hand, he's seen the sky, the clouds, the ground, the sun, the rain, the moon, and the stars, a cat, and several worms. Woodstock feels that he's led a very full life. And I feel like this delves into the one of the more prevalent ideas in philosophy, that less is more. And less life experiences, less material possessions, just less going on in your mind allows you to think about yourself and the world more deeply. You know, the third precept of Miyamoto Musashi's Dokudo is think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. And I feel that is one of the better quotes throughout that entire story, because it's basically just a simple guide for living a happy life.
Yeah, I have Dokudo written on my wall. I think my favorite one is like the second to last one. It says, "You may abandon your body, but you may never abandon your honor." Yeah, I get something very different from this strip, and I'm going to read the next strip to explain. It says, Linus and Charlie Brown are walking. You ever feel like running away? Of course. Sometimes I feel like I want to run away from everything. And then Snoopy is thinking, I remember having that feeling once when I was at the Daisy Hill puppy farm. I climbed over the fence, but I was still in the world. And really, what I get from these two strips is that, you know, I always tell people that I hate the fact that I have to live in the physical, material world. I have to deal with all these things like, oh, you know, the sun is shining in my eyes and gravity is pushing down on me, and I have acne, and I just all these problems, and I have to eat, I have to brush my teeth, I have to do all these things. But when I really think about it, if I were to leave the physical world and go into a higher state of existence, how do I know that there's not just something after that, right? How do I know that?
Is there an escape?
Yeah. I don't think anything ever ends. I think it just keeps going up. And there is no... In reality, there's no higher state. You're forced to live here, and there's no use complaining about it.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Yes, this is probably the most philosophical strip in all of the thing. I'm going to let you read this.
Alright. Peanuts, featuring good old Charlie Brown. Snoopy, with a sigh, says, My life has no meaning. Everything seems empty. Even my bunny books seem meaningless. I can search the skies, but I can find no meaning. No meaning. With another sigh, he sees Charlie Brown walking toward him with a tray of dog food, and he goes, meaning.
Snoopy is an Epicurean. Takes a lot of, he gets a lot from physical, material goods, you know? It's like, when he's really alone with his thoughts, he's terribly unhappy, but when he's confronted with something pleasurable, food, he's happy. As much as I love Snoopy, that's not how I want to live, you know? I always talk about how I don't like the physical, material world, but, really, I want to achieve things in life. And what food does, and what food and a bunch of other things do, is they just give you pleasure for a short amount of time. They don't actually help with anything. They don't help you that much, and they don't help with other people. You know?
Yeah.
And that's Miyamoto Musashi. He was all about rejecting pleasure, you know?
Mm-hmm. And even in the 13th precept of Dokudo, as I have right here, do not pursue the taste of good food. Because in the end, food is an essential to life. But if taken as a pleasure or as something that is less of a necessity and more of a luxury, it can control you. And that is the same with most things. Like, obviously you need to eat food to live and drink water to live. But say you use food as a luxury, you overeat, you eat all this good food.
You're
Eventually,
gluttonous.
it could take control of your life with
Mhm.
gluttony and addiction, which is a very pressing concern in the modern day United States, some could say.
You know, but despite the fact that Snoopy cares so much about physical material goods, he's also very generous. And as seen in this next strip, Peanuts by Schultz, it's a rainy day, and the whole Peanuts gang is inside. Listen to the thunder. I'm glad we're inside. This is the worst storm I've ever seen. I always think about all the animals who have to be outside, and the birds. That's right, birds and deer and squirrels and rabbits, and stray cats, and horses and cows and little bugs. And then you see Snoopy sort of looking off, and then he's grabbed all of these, this equipment to go outside, and then Charlie Brown says, "No, I don't think we can go out and rescue all of them." Snoopy is a utilitarian, and he puts others before himself. He doesn't let his love for material goods get in the way of loving other people and being a kind person. He's a lot like Batman in that way, He just, even in the worst scenario, like this terrible rainy day with all of this lightning, Snoopy is still willing to face those challenges, and he's still willing to go out. He's a very brave person. He's courageous.
He's not abandoning his honor. He
Right.
might abandon his body in that storm, saving the animals, but his honor is still preserved.
That's true. And I've been saying this as a joke. Just that the most abhorrent and monstrous thing a human can do is abandon their honor. But in a lot of ways, that's true. I care so much about helping other people, and I think if I were so unhappy in life and so depressed, and if I died, I think as long as I knew that I made a difference, as long as I knew that I helped other people, I think I'd be satisfied, no matter how unhappy I was in life, no matter how many things I had to go through. So yeah, moving on. I'm gonna go back to just the. Well, I'm gonna go back to just the existential ideas of Charlie Brown, how he hates existence. I just found this strip yesterday, believe it or not. Sitting in a doctor's office reading this. I thought it was so amazing. I'm gonna let you read this.
So, Charlie Brown was talking to Lucy, and Lucy has a new watch, a new timepiece. She has a very nice watch, and he wears to school often. But I got a new watch, hey Lucy, it's pretty. You are 14 seconds older now than when we met. You are now 20 seconds older, 25 seconds, 30 seconds older, 35 seconds, 45. And he runs away screaming, "Aug." And I feel this speaks to just the passing of time and not wanting to waste the life you are given in this world. And watches and time, obviously it is all a construct. It's a social construct created by us to try to understand powers that we cannot comprehend, or that we cannot control. And the watch and time is a representation of that. But even saying that, time kills all. We're all going to die. Someday we're all going to get old and die. And what have we done with our life, Some could say that life is roadblocks, and you just can't stop. Because life isn't going to stop for you. And I feel I relate to this heavily.
Yeah, I always wished I could stop time. I hate the fact that time is just so relentless and unforgiving, and that, I need a break sometimes. It's like, yesterday I was just sitting at my desk and in my room after I'd gotten home, and I had so much homework, and I was just so exhausted, and I just wanted things to stop so that I wouldn't, because I need to sleep, but I need to do homework as well, and I just can't get over time, And here's another strip that kind of shows how this is about time, but it's in a different sense. It's that. I'm going to read it. Charlie Brown and his sister are looking at the stars, and they're contemplating, and fascinating, completely fascinating. See that group of stars, Sally? That's called the Big Dipper. The shape of the Big Dipper changes over the years because of an unequal movement among its stars. In another 100,000 years, the Big Dipper will be gone. And Lucy goes, "Wah!"
Like a baby. But
Well, Lucy is very young. She's, I think, the youngest of. But yeah, this is
this is another thing that we're talking about where it's just time.
Yep.
And time kills all. The constellations might be gone in 100,000 years. You know, astrology might not even exist because the constellations are gone. Which I'm not going to say whether that would be a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah.
I always say, and I get this from the Dune books by Frank Herbert, but, if you... I think that the future of humanity, if you want to survive... I'm not saying it's a good thing for humanity to survive, if I'm being entirely honest, but I think if we need to survive, we need to colonize other planets. And the thing about that is, if you have humanity spread across all of these different parts of the universe, then all these different sections of humanity are going to evolve differently. And at that point, there's just going to be all these different species that evolved from humans, but that are just completely different, and I don't know, it's just so confusing to me, and I don't know what the future has in store. To end, I want to show this one last strip. I think no matter how depressing the Peanuts comic strip can be, it's still an uplifting comic strip and a hopeful comic strip. I'm gonna let you read this.
Alright. Once again, on the brick wall. Do you ever think much about the future, Linus? Oh yes, all the time. What do you think you'd like to be when you grow up? And Linus very intelligently responds with, outrageously happy.
Yeah, I'd like to end with a quote. This is by Albert Camus. He wrote one of my favorite books called The Myth of Sisyphus. If you don't know who Sisyphus is, he is a character in Greek mythology who was cursed by the gods to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity. And every time he gets to the top, roll a boulder up a hill. I don't know what I said. Every time he gets to the top, the boulder rolls back down. He used to go down and get it, and he does that forever, for all of eternity. And I think Sisyphus is one of the most relatable characters ever. But I'm going to read this. He says, it's Albert Camus, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy." And I think that's the point of Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown is unlucky, and he always, the universe hates him. And his life is just a constant struggle to reach the top. And he never gets there. But he just needs to be happy. He needs to, because think about all of the little adventures, all the little journeys that he's been through on his way towards the top of the hill. On his way towards being able to kick the football, or being able to, being with the little red-haired girl. I think everything he does is so relatable, and yeah, I think if I need to give a piece of advice to Charlie Brown, I would just say, enjoy the journey. Don't care about where you get to. You have to enjoy the journey.
Mm-hmm. And going back to this quote, for some reason, "One must imagine Sisyphus happy" has become a recent trend in pop culture, especially on social media platforms. But I feel that the quote has been truly filled out. This is my first time seeing this, but the sentence before, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy." I have a item of clothing that I wear often at school, and on the back of the hoodie it says, "Die trying." And I feel that that is very well represented here, because as long as you are going toward your goals, even if you do die, you are going to have lived a fulfilling life and a happy life. Even if you don't know your life's purpose, Buddha says that if you don't know your life's purpose is to find your life's purpose. And I feel that the pursuit of that is what true happiness is for everyone. So if I could give advice to Charles Brownie, as pointed out in some of the earlier comics, I would also say to enjoy the journey, but also to realize the journey itself.
Good advice. Well, thank you. And that concludes the philosophy of Charlie Brown. I think for the next FALA-sophy episode, I'd like to delve into the philosophy of Hello Kitty. So yes.
Thank you for having me. This
Yeah,
is a
of
great
course.
time.
Of course. Thank you.